Hey, this is a much later McKenna here. I feel like this was very much a process podcast, and I was doing a bit of mental gymnastics while trying to make a point. I just heard this joke. It's like that old DVD loading screen, and you just sit there waiting for it to hit the corner, and it never does. That's this episode. But I want to post it anyways and just keep moving forward. I recorded this a couple weeks ago, and if anyone follows the Gene Keys at all, I realized this week's pulse is Gene Key 24. Addiction, invention, silence. Meaning the observation of the mind and trying to form some sort of creativity to move beyond our addictive cycles and into the silence and the pause. So I must have been on track at least, but it does feel fitting to post this now. Okay, cool. On to the rest of my blabbing. And for those of you who do stick around, thank you so much for listening. Okay, today I want to talk about the creative act as a form of self-development. And I say this while staring directly at my bookshelf, locking my eyes onto a dusty copy of The Artist's Way, which has been sitting there for years unread. Probably could have prepared for this podcast by reading it, but anyways. Okay, so I have Saturn in Aries, and for those who don't know or understand the language of astrology, this is a challenging placement. So for those out there in my age range also going through their Saturn return right now, or those older, I guess, and going through their second or third Saturn returns, I see you, I feel you. Why our souls chose this placement, especially during these times of change, is beyond me, but I digress. So I have Saturn in Aries, and it's funny because no matter how much I know about astrology or think I know about astrology, there's literally always so much more to understand. But I will say, if anyone has more information on this than I do, please share because I would greatly appreciate that. So I have my Saturn in Aries in my second house, which again is a difficult house to have Aries in. And I noticed how much I identify with this. For those who don't know, Saturn is a slow-moving planet of sort of discipline and structure, and it presents challenges and limitations. And Aries is a sign that is sort of fiery and fast-paced and wants things to move quickly. And the second house is a house of money, possessions, self-value, etc. I was born into a family that struggled with money, and I adopted that belief system that money's hard to come by. I've spent years unraveling that belief for myself, and I continue to try and break free from those money stories that I've told myself my whole life. And recently, well, I've known this for a while, but recently it came back into my awareness that if you look at your chart from the perspective of whole sign houses, which I realize every astrologer I follow uses whole sign houses, but if you do that, my second house Saturn actually shifts to my third house. So that's actually where I'd love any insight if anyone has that, but I think I didn't believe that for years because I almost didn't want to. Somehow I attached myself to my Saturn being in my second house because it felt like a permission slip, and it explained why money is such a challenge for me. But recently I was like, McKenna, let go of that. Let go of that story. And maybe a third house Saturn is something that's actually more true, and it's okay to let go of the money stories and the self-worth stories you tell about yourself. And again, this is where I would appreciate some insight because, how do I look at my chart with this? Was I identifying so much with the money stories because Saturn just was transiting my second house? Or is that even how it works? I don't know. Okay, anyways. So if I'm looking at my third house, it's about mindset and your way of thinking, speaking, writing, communication, interactions within relationships. So what I want to get into here is the creative act and how it actually is a form of self-development. I felt guided to start speaking recently, hence what I'm doing right now, and I've been approaching it in a really relaxed way, but this understanding of Saturn being a third house placement is what's allowed me to approach this with even more structure and discipline, because now I can freely approach this as a way of self-development for myself. Something I can obviously say I'm not good at, and I have places to get better at, and the best way to go about growing is through practice. I'm in a class right now. It's a living mystery school where we help co-activate each other and grow on our own path while doing it alongside others who are on their own path. And in class, on our Zooms, we've been being put into breakout rooms, which obviously instant fear for me. I was sitting there trying to think of ways I could hide and not show up. But I realized that this is the path of learning. I can sit behind my screen until the day I die and have ultimately gotten nowhere. I could feel like I know all the things I want to know, but until I actually activate and embody them, all the knowledge means nothing. To me, wisdom is embodied knowledge, or wisdom is lived knowledge, and it's only with the activation of my own voice that I will actually grow. Thankfully, this Living Mystery School is such a beautiful, safe container for us all to grow in, and it is scary and uncomfortable, but we're all doing that uncomfortable thing together, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of guts. And then I think of my best friend Miranda, for example. She's a terrible artist. You know how Monica Geller is the best worst at giving massages? That's Miranda in art. Sorry, Miranda. Side note, if you're listening, I love what you've been creating recently, but for the sake of this story, I'm telling everyone that you're a bad artist. And Miranda is totally Monica Geller because she is that Capricorn sun who just is not okay with being bad at anything. So she's always had trouble with art because she's always wanted to be a great artist, but it is something she struggles with. And that's the process she's been unraveling recently. Jumping headfirst into creative projects and trying to drop the expectation that she holds for herself around creating great art. And that's been transforming her because she's letting go of old constructs she holds for herself and the control of needing to be perfect, and she's expressing creativity and joy. And for her, that is the act of transforming. Now, I'm of the belief that everyone is an artist. Genuinely, I think of how many people I've come across in my life since being little kids who are like, I'm not an artist. Like, no. If you're that person, I want to stop you right there because take a moment, like, look around you. What do you see? There's a good chance you're at home. You've created a space for yourself that feels comfortable and safe. Maybe the job you've been working is a path that you've created for yourself. You've made creative decisions that got you exactly where you are now. Literally every person is in the act of creating themselves. Quantum physics literally tells us this, how we are creators of our realities. You've created every single thing you've experienced in your life. So we're all artists, whether you're conscious of it or not. But I think we have so much control around this. We only identify as artists if someone around us at one point told us that we're good at it. Really, everyone should be identifying as artists. It just starts with having the courage to identify as one, even if it means the first time you show up that you're bad at it. Truly, everyone is a beginner at one point. It's about having the courage to be bad at something, to allow yourself to grow and maybe eventually become good at it. But so often we limit ourselves because we're afraid to be bad. And that just means we stay where we are and we don't grow. There's no learning without first being bad at it. If you're too afraid to look silly or stupid or not be as good as other people, you'll never get any better. It's the courage to put yourself out there and do the thing. And that's the creative act of self-development. The second part to this is the process. Simply showing up and making that slow progress. Practicing that art is the process of unraveling and becoming. It's showing up every day and doing the things and creating that's making the difference. Because every day you show up, you find out something new about yourself. Maybe you show up when no one's watching and you learn creative discipline. Maybe you show up even when others don't believe you. You learn self-belief. Any challenge becomes something that you can learn from, whether it's in the process or the literal art that you're making. Like you could simply get better at a certain paint technique or composition or what have you. Any result is the process of daily becoming. So often we focus on the results of things, and it's always the process of getting there that's important. It's allowing yourself to be bad and continuously showing up to make that progress. And sometimes the progress won't be noticeable for a while, but there's always something there for you every day that you show up. I think the true creative act is to make living life itself an art. I mean, man, to make living life itself an art that just offers so much freedom. Viewing your life as an art project allows creativity, freedom. It allows one to mess up and paint over again. It invites a bit of whimsy into the becoming process. I know that's a big word recently, whimsy, and it's great. To me, it feels like a word of letting go and allowing, and to invite whimsy into one's life is to allow life to flow through you. We've been taught to be so serious, and people really tighten and restrict themselves to reach goals. But what if you do the opposite and allow yourself to reach goals without the tightening? For me in this phase of life, I see the creative practice as a way of activating my voice. And activating my voice is a way of leading. Because it's through my own creative practice that I'm doing the things, I'm activating myself and becoming myself. And that in turn affects the world around me and leads the world around me. This way of creating videos and using my voice is also an act of courage for me, truly. It's not comfortable at all, but having the courage is that threshold to becoming. And if you have enough courage, that's what will take you to the next step. Courage is like that raft that you find at the edge of the river, and you hop on it and it'll take you downstream. And you can go without it, you'll get there, just maybe a little slower or like with more challenges, more resistance. And you could not have courage. You could choose to leave the raft, but that not having courage would keep me right where I am. So instead, I'm doing the uncomfortable thing and I'm saying what I want to and just learning how to better communicate. And it's scary, but in doing it is the act of becoming. So I think if we all just let go of control and realize that the life we live is the art and the process of creation, then we would just let go of the need to be perfect all the time. Let go of the need to have a perfected, finished piece. And we can just be free to try and create and mess up and try again. And maybe even like me and like my friend Miranda, your growth can literally come from the creations you're making. Start your creative project and learn from it and let life move through that. There's something there for you to learn from in everything you create, because everyone and everything can be a teacher if you have the eyes to perceive it that way. Art can be that living organism that grows and evolves and changes you. Maybe start that podcast as a way of activating your voice. Maybe paint with full knowledge that what you've painted with love is encoded as a living organism that spreads love to those who see it. Maybe you're like Miranda and art is a process of letting go of perfection and allowing yourself to just be where you are in each moment, and to do so without judgment. And then that just becomes a practice of kindness towards yourself and thus kindness towards others. And I mean, that's just the beginning of what can come from this process. There's no end to what can be discovered and created. But those are just my thoughts on like what I'm moving through right now. I'd love to know, what creative acts are you practicing and how are you changing through them? Also, really, if anyone can explain to me what I should be considering in terms of whole sign houses or whatever, I'd appreciate any clarity in that too. Okay, that's a wrap. I am so grateful to walk this path with you. I hope there's something in there for you listening, and reciprocally, thank you for allowing me to practice my creative act and activate my voice. Okay, cool. Thanks for listening. Bye.